Welcome, Pewter Report readers and listeners, to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. I am John Ledyard of pewterreport.com. Joining me shortly here will be Mark Cook, also of pewterreport.com, and we are going to talk about the one and the only Julio Jones, who could be headed out of Atlanta. Where is he going? Why is he leaving? What the heck happened with Shannon Sharpe and that phone call today on the air? Is this what Julio wanted all along? Was he the one asking for a trade? Is he afraid of the box? Wait, who put that in the script? No, but seriously, like, what is the deal with Julio? Where does he? And he slandered the Cowboys, by the way, on his way out. So if you're just catching up with this story, it took off. It is real legs today. We're going to cover all that on the podcast. Mark will be joining me in a few moments. And as always, all this great content and fun is going to be brought to you by our friends over at Celsius. Celsius powers active lives every day with essential functional energy. I've got I don't think I've drank this many times on the show, the strawberry dragon fruit today. No sugar, man. Telling you what, the way that they get the carbonated taste with the flavor that they get without the sugar, without the crash, in an energy drink that picks you up. I mean, it really is. It's something else. Shout out to Celsius. This is from the Heat line. I enjoy the Heat a lot. There's a creamsicle, or an orange-sicle actually, that I always call the creamsicle because it looks like the Bucs creamsicle jerseys. Got to try that one out there if you can find that one. But go to Celsius.com. You can use the store locator, figure out where Celsius are around you. I know more and more people are having them pop up around them as Celsius just kind of takes off and takes over. And we are getting tweets and DMs and messages every day. I've tried my first flavor, and Brent Allen was posting a video of him drinking his first one over at the Pewtercast. So it's great stuff. We appreciate Celsius, great sponsor of the show, and definitely check them out and figure out what you can about which flavor is your favorite from the Celsius line. All right, Julio Jones. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This could be the end of Julio Jones' time in Atlanta. If you're just tuning in to the Julio Jones saga and you're wondering what is going on with him today, apparently Shannon Sharpe just cold called him while he was on the show today, while he was on Undisputed with Skip Bayless. And he just started talking to him, are you leaving? Are you out of Atlanta? And he didn't tell Julio that they were live. Not sure if Julio knew or not, or, what stage or whatever. We don't know. But Julio said he's out of Atlanta. And he made that part clear, and we'll get to the rest in a second. But if he's out of Atlanta, I mean, this is pretty big news. Maybe those of you who are just, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but some people just jumping on the Bucs bandwagon, which you're very welcome, by the way. Welcome to join. Welcome to jump on. You may not be aware, since it's been a couple. I mean, Julio didn't really kill the Bucs in recent years. At least he didn't play either of the times they played this past season. He didn't play against the Bucs. He was inactive for both of those games. And then even you go back to 2019. So really, since Todd Bowles has been there, they held him in check. 5 catches, 68 yards, 7 catches, 78 yards in the next game. It wasn't like he took over either of those games. Before that, however, quite a different story with Julio Jones. He'd been fairly dominant against the Bucs. These are his more recent performances before the 2019 season in the era of defensive coordinators, which shall not be named. I know they probably are being named and cursed in the chat. This guy, 138 yards on 9 catches and a touchdown, and 10 catches for 144 yards and no touchdown, in 2018. Year before that, the second game, just a small impact, 3 catches, 54 yards. But the first game in 2017, 12 catches on 15 targets for 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then the year before that had an 111-yard game, 162-yard game, 161-yard game, 119-yard game. So you go back down the history, and you can clearly see Julio Jones has been a Buck killer for quite a long time. So, yeah, Julio Jones getting out of there, oh, man, I think it would be a pretty big deal. Not that the Bucs are scared of Atlanta by any stretch of the imagination. I know everybody's going to say it doesn't matter. Julio's there, Julio's not there. Either way, the Bucs are obviously taking him. I mean, I agree with that. But at the same time, let's be real. Julio is a game changer. He's one of those players in today's NFL that changes the way that schematically you'd match up. And if you look at Atlanta's arsenal, Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, Kyle Pitts, I mean, that is a tough arsenal to match up with. There's no question. And so, yeah, you look at that group and you say, all right, if Julio Jones is out of there, then all of a sudden it becomes a little bit simpler for us, and not saying they won't be tough still, because Calvin Ridley tore up the Bucs, especially in their first meeting last year. But having Carlton Davis healthy for both of those games will be a big difference this year. Now you've got the ability, though, to take Carlton Davis and use him on Kyle Pitts at times. And that can be a mismatch eliminator kind of for you as a defense, where I don't think you had that option before. I think you would have had to keep Carlton Davis on Julio Jones. All this, of course, is predicated on the Falcons actually trading Julio Jones. We don't know that that's going to happen yet. It seems pretty likely based on the fact that we've known the Falcons were interested in moving him because of their cap situation for quite a while now. But what's come of light recently is Julio Jones may actually have been the one that is asking for the trade and is also ready to move on. So it seems like both sides are there. The holdup is in some ways the compensation, because it sounds like the Falcons want like a late first, an early second, and teams right now are not willing to part with that. I am a little bit surprised by that. Maybe they think the end is closer for Julio than I think it has been. I think he's done a really nice job for the most part of staying healthy. I know last year was kind of an exception to that. There he is, Mark Hook, ladies and gentlemen, on the show. Mark, let me get our Pewter Report, our fancy looking overlay in here. Yeah. So we look. Oh, there we go. Now that improved. That improved the look tremendously right there. Need one of those one person overlays too, and maybe some three people. We should have had one ready for Bruce, but I mean, we still look good with the red background for sure. But this is definitely
we did look good I mean, it looked great all over the NFL Network, ESPN, the Pat McAfee show, all of those places that picked us up and ran stories about our groundbreaking revolutionary. Well, what's it, revolutionary? A groundbreaking interview process. And I decided, you know what? It went so well last week. I'm going to go with the Arians hat anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, your camera. Take your hand and wipe your webcam real quick. Let's see if we can improve that. We got to be able to see. It's just a little bit blurry today, maybe.
All right, hang on.
It could be also this Julio Jones news. As a longtime Buck supporter and media member, you may be also doing the SpongeBob. No, it didn't. I didn't do anything. I don't know.
Does that do anything? That makes it worse.
I don't think so. I don't think it's a lighting thing.
I've been promised a new camera for about a year now, John. And I mean, if you
Scott has it, I think.
I think
Scott has your camera, actually.
I've always said
I don't know what he's doing with that camera, but
I don't know that we want to see me any more clear.
Maybe that's why he hasn't given it to you.
Buccaneer Bruce says, I see Mark using his 1999 webcam. Ha, ha, ha. I'll tell you what I'm going to do next time, Buccaneer Bruce. I'm actually just going to use the phone next time. I was reading these MacBooks don't have the best internal webcams, and someone suggested actually getting a tripod and just using your phone next time. So who knows? Maybe I'll try that, but I think
I'll tell you what, Streamyard is great in a lot of ways. One of the difficulties of it is definitely the technical side. It sucks the life out of your computer when you use the program. The more research I've done and the more people I've talked to in the field, they say it's just a great program, but it just crushes your computer when you use it. And so that is part of the reason why there's sometimes these little hiccups and stuff, but they're refining their process. We're refining ours. And for some reason, Mark, the Atlanta Falcons are also refining their process, and that might involve moving on from Julio Jones. I'm at this point with it, Mark, and then I'll get your thoughts on it. If you're Atlanta and you just took Kyle Pitts and you bypassed the opportunity to take quarterbacks, obviously we don't know how the grades were, if Trey Lance fell, but they certainly seemed in the video, like Kyle Pitts was the guy they targeted and wanted all the way. I get it. Kyle Pitts is a great player. He can help you out long-term too. But man, if you're on the top of the quarterback class that just passed and you're not trying to win now, I mean, just hang on to Julio. You could fit him under the cap. I know you're going to want to move him eventually, but if you think you can compete now, and that's why you took Kyle Pitts and you bypassed, moving Matt Ryan and bypassed quarterbacks. I mean, I know Matt Ryan's contract would have made it hard to move. I'm not quite sure what the plan is for Atlanta. Like, do you try to move on from Matt Ryan next year, Julio this year, and Kyle Pitts is like a long-term building block, but there's no quarterback. There's a lot of.
You cut out there for a second at the end, or maybe.
Sorry, I said there's a lot of missing pieces right now for Atlanta. If you're going to bypass a quarterback, you better be confident that offensive line you just drafted is all the right guys. And so far, we have not seen that. No,
and that was something when Kyle Pitts was drafted, I tweeted, Atlanta just got a lot better, and Warren Sapp of all people tweeted back, nah, they still can't block. Basically something to that offense. I mean, to that. He said, they still can't block for Matt Ryan, so it doesn't really matter who they have on offense, is basically what he was saying. And I see what he's saying there. That makes a lot of sense. I don't understand. I do the behind enemy lines thing each week. And, I followed this process from the hiring of Fontenot and Arthur. And, there was some internal struggle, according to some of the Atlanta people and some of the national people. Do they go ahead and try and move on from Matt Ryan? Financially, it was virtually impossible the way that his contract was set up. But they were so far. There was the Saints, who were the number one team as far as over the cap when the new year started, and then there was Atlanta. I mean, it was that bad. They weren't quite the Saints, but they were pretty bad. But they managed to get everything under the cap. So if you're under the cap, you drafted the guy that you wanted. If it's Pitts, then I don't understand, the urgency to get rid of Julio now, unless there's some sort of advantage financially for next year, because he is still a cap hit, I believe, for next year as well. And Matt Ryan is too. My whole thing is, though, I don't understand what Atlanta's doing. Are you rebuilding, or are you trying to restock and retool and make a run? Because if they're trying to retool and restock to make a run, there are a lot of holes still on this roster that they didn't really address in free agency, which I understand they couldn't because they were up against the cap, but also in the draft. I mean, I think they left a lot to be desired there too, if they were trying to be competitive this year. Again, they may be 7-9 or 8-8, and that's a 4-game improvement. Maybe that's okay for them this year, but what's the long-term plan? What's the goal? And I like the hire of Fontenot. Don't get me wrong. I think he's going to be good for Atlanta, but I don't know what the vision is there. And I wonder if there is already a little bit of discourse or butting of heads between Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot right now. I don't know. We'll try and get more information, and we'll have behind enemy lines come out on Wednesday. I'll talk to some people up in Atlanta and see what they think. But it's interesting right now. Yeah, I mean, it's because what happens next year? Let's say they are 7-9 or 8-8 or 7-10 and 9, whatever. But let's say that it does happen. Okay, well then, what do you do in the offseason? Are you going to be? Are you trying to get back? Because your defense is still, going to have, I'm sure, a lot of holes. Your offensive line, maybe 1 or 2 of those guys improve, but you still got a lot of question marks. Right. What do you do with Jake Matthews? What do you do with Matt Ryan if you improve next year, but you're only still an average team? And that, to me, is the ceiling for them. Like, they could improve, but they're probably still just going to be a league average team. So then what do? Do you try and keep building for one more year and then restart, or do you restart and then you're going to go backward after improving from last year? You'll go backward. You are going to go backwards. I think, look, if you're trying to rebuild, if you're trying to restart and do this thing over and blow it all up, which obviously they didn't do, you start at quarterback, in my opinion. But again, who knows what they had grades on? But they had the number 4 overall pick. Right. That to me, I'm with you. I mean, the ceiling on this team is a 9-7 football team, and I don't even think that this year. Maybe next year, if their offensive line goes into place and some of these young defensive players that they drafted this year pan out. But we don't know. We've seen, John, here in Tampa Bay, the how difficult it is, number one, to get the right cornerbacks. See, MJ Stewart, Vernon Hargraves didn't pan out. Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting did pan out. I mean, Justin Evans didn't pan out. Antoine Winfield Jr. did pan out. So you're doing great if you're hitting 50-50 on those picks. I don't know if Atlanta's going to hit 50-50 on those. They need to hit 100% on those picks. And, they've got a completely revamped secondary. And again, I don't know who they're going to stop. As Warren Sapp said, their offensive line still can't block the Buccaneers defense. I don't think their cornerbacks can cover the Buccaneers wide receivers either. I think there's going to be just as many question marks on the defensive side as there is the offensive side in terms of the offensive line. Yeah, I mean, if you have questions on both lines and in your secondary,
I mean, it doesn't bode well usually. It's not.
Yeah,
a very
who's
good
going to rush the
formula.
passer? We haven't even brought. I mean, maybe you brought it up before I got on, but they've got nobody to get to the quarterback. I mean, essentially,
other than Grady Jarrett,
right. They tried with Dante Fowler. That didn't pan out. I'll put it to you this way, Buccaneer fans. The Atlanta Falcons are so desperate for pass rushers, they re-signed Steven Means, who was a Greg Schiano draft pick who didn't pan out in Tampa Bay when the Buccaneers were just dreadful defensively. That tells you, how desperate this team is for pass rushers.
Man, preseason hero Steven Means. I always like.
Great guy. Love the guy.
Yeah.
He was a nice guy in the locker room, super hardworking guy, great story. But he is what he is. I mean, he's not even at Adrian Claiborne level, who the Buccaneers obviously drafted and actually did pretty good with Atlanta. Had a decent year, but Steven Means is not even Adrian Claiborne. And if you're counting on this guy to be one of your main pass rushers, Tristan Wirfs is licking his chops. Donovan Smith is saying, "Bring it," and Tom Brady's laughing.
Right, exactly. No, and one of the things going for Atlanta is the improved coaching situation. Arthur Smith and Dean Pease will bring improvements schematically that will definitely matter. One of the places where we typically dive into those schematic elements of the game for the true big-time fans that like to go behind the scenes is Locker Room. It's a social audio app that is changing the way we talk sports. It's the only place for live audio conversations about the takes, rumors, news, and teams you care about. Locker Room is where you can react to sports news as it happens. Gather all your friends and watch parties for the biggest games, rep your favorite teams, and find your community. Better sports talk is just a tap away. Download on the Apple App Store and join the conversation on Locker Room. We nerded out big time in the last Locker Room. Was it Wednesday night? I believe it was. And it was a great chat though. We got Haas Y Juke and Jack Barrett in there, and we were having some great conversation, and Josh Allen and I were in there.
You had Shaq Barrett?
Not Shaq Barrett, Jack Barrett, who may not be the pass rush force, but is quite the numbers savant and has done some great charting work on the Bucs. They were in there. So lots of stuff that you won't even hear talked about on the podcast that you honestly won't hear talked about anywhere else. We talk about it on Locker Room. They're always fun conversations, and we'll be on Tuesday night. We'll jump in with those guys again, and we'll have some chats on there. So make sure you download the app, follow Pewter Report on that app, and you'll get notified and an invite when we go live. So the Falcons
invited. I've never been invited, John.
You're invited every time. Actually, you must have turned your notifications off. Oh yeah, you're in there.
Oh,
yep,
sorry.
I've seen your name.
Damn it!
I've seen your name in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't have notifications on, but I'll change that.
Yeah, it might be that. But I mean, it goes to like hundreds of people because the people that follow the Pewter Report on Locker Room. So you're just one of the many.
Okay.
But yes, on the Atlanta side of things, I think they could be better mainly because of the coaching. I don't really know that they're like, you could look at them and say, wow, they're just so improved talent wise. They need to be better because of the coaching. But let's step outside of that for a second. In Atlanta, yes, what happens this year might not be indicative of what happens long-term with that franchise. To me, that's good news for the Bucs. If they improve, I don't know that it necessarily means they're going to be a threat in 2022. Unlike the Panthers, if the Panthers show improvement this year, we know what their game plan is. Like, to me, I know what they're playing. I don't know whether it's going to work out. I don't know that they're going to be that much improved, but I think I still see, okay, Carolina, I know they're starting young, they're drafting all defense, they're doing all, they're trying to build that way. But Atlanta's kind of in between to me. This young defense was still, I don't think, has enough talent. And then this offense that is kind of totally young offensive line, older in some other spots that matter, and not sure whether they're going to turn the page on that group at all. But if Julio Jones goes somewhere else, that's the team that could be the most impacted by Julio leaving. That's the thing that could actually impact the Bucs more than Julio leaving Atlanta. Certainly easier to play Atlanta without Julio, but the thing that could really impact the Bucs is if he goes like Green Bay. Which to me, if you're Green Bay, Scott or Mark, why wouldn't you trade? I would trade whatever. I mean, like somebody just mentioned in the comments, his contract's not that bad. If you're Green Bay, I mean, I would right now for this window to appease Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I would if you really want Aaron Rodgers around long term, yeah, dude, you try to get Julio Jones in here, even if you have to give up. What's it going to be, a late first? I mean, come on, it's not like the Packers roster's a mess. Yeah, it would be easier if you didn't draft a backup quarterback and a fullback and a third-string running back over the last couple of years. But still, I mean, I think that's a Packers roster that can afford to lose that first and go in and have Julio and Devontae Adams, dude. That's game changer for Green Bay.
If they did that, then that would be, I think, and we did a roundtable this week. The biggest threat for the Buccaneers, the opponent that we feel is the biggest threat, and Green Bay was mine without. That's assuming Aaron Rodgers comes back. But my choice was, I still think they're the biggest threat, even more so than the Rams. Not that I think they're a more talented football team than the Rams. I think they're pretty even. The revenge factor, the motivation factor, they got beat twice last year, kind of like the Buccaneers did with the Saints. But when they met in the playoffs, the Buccaneers were tired of losing. I think Green Bay's got, and Aaron Rodgers is a guy that wants to beat the Buccaneers. I mean, it should have been, but I mean, Packers fans will tell you it should have been, minus a couple calls and maybe a Matt LaFleur late decision in that fourth quarter. It should have been the Packers holding up the Lombardi Trophy, because I think they would have possibly beat the Chiefs the way the Chiefs' offensive line was. So I think it would have been a more competitive game than the Bucs and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But I still think that the Packers certainly are the biggest threat if Rodgers comes back. But man, you throw Julio Jones in on that football team, and there's some real question marks of who's gonna emerge from the NFC as the top team. I don't worry about him, maybe in other cities, but Green Bay, you mentioned it. That's the one that scares me the most. I would hope, look, teams don't like to trade within their own conference, but at the same time, it's not like teams are lining up. I mean, we haven't really even heard a lot of rumblings or rumors about teams overly interested right now in Julio Jones. So if they could use that carrot to dangle in front of Aaron Rodgers to maybe make him happy again, at least for another year, they would be foolish not to.
Right. And Zach Jarvis says Packers or Rams. Here's why I don't think the Rams are even. I mean, I don't know how they pull it off. Maybe a player, or that would be something. I don't think Atlanta wants that. I think they really want picks. And that made that part of it at least make sense for Atlanta. If you're going to give up Julio, definitely get picks. But man, what do the Rams have to offer? They don't have a first round pick for years. And their seconds are going to be late seconds with what's expected of that team. Yeah. It's going to be hard to entice Atlanta to just go, oh yeah, late, we're gonna actively give Julio away for a worse pick than we got for Mohamed Sanu, or that we traded for Hayden Hurst. Like, I don't know, man. Like, are you gonna give that for like the 60th pick, a 59th pick? I mean, to me, that just seems like they're gonna get a better offer than that. Maybe not. Maybe they really don't get a better offer. So that takes the Rams kind of, to me, I don't see them as a big contender for Julio. Maybe something could happen that could surprise me. If the Rams had the ammunition, absolutely, they would try. But I don't know. They're an aggressive team, but I'm not sure that they have the options right now to be able to do something like that. The Packers, to me, do. And so I would advocate them considering. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. The Colts are another team mentioned a lot, Mark, but they also, remember, they're parting with that first if Carson Wentz plays 75% of those snaps. Yeah. So, and if he doesn't, then it's the second, and so they can't really make that move right now. I don't think.
I've seen New England. I've seen New England a little bit. Makes
sense.
Yeah, and again, I don't know how much any of this is truth. Any of these rumors, or if it's just fans or media members speculating about it. But
like the Patriots were an actual report, like they had actually discussed it and maybe even inquired about what it would look like to trade for him. Right. Now, the 49ers, Zach Jarvis mentions the 49ers too. That's an interesting one to a degree. I mean, if you just want to go all in and you're the Niners, I'm not sure cap-wise what they'd have to do to make it work. I mean, everybody could make it work, I'm sure. But that's an interesting one. Now, I would counter with this. I don't really think the 49ers need another wide receiver. I mean, that offense, they're set, as they are. I think Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk are going to be game-changing type of players if they can stay healthy and on the field. So those guys with George Kittle, I mean, I don't think you need to make that move if you're the Niners. If you make that move and you're the Niners, I mean, more power to you. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that team for sure. But that would be another one that would be a threat. I mean, to me, the Rams and the 49ers, if Rodgers moves on, those might be the teams that are the biggest threats to the Bucs anyway in the NFC. So obviously, if you're a Bucs fan, you're probably cheering for neither of those teams to get Julio and him to end up on New England or somewhere in the NFC.
You want him to go somewhere like Chicago. You want him to go somewhere, in the AFC, something like that.
Even Chicago would be tough, man. Like Julio and Allen Robinson, they still need the quarterbacks. But Fields, I like Fields a lot.
It wouldn't scare me this year. And listen, this is the window, right? This year is the year. I don't know what's going to happen in 2022 with this team, but 2021, I mean, I'm geared up and expecting a serious Super Bowl run again this year. So, and I'm putting my eggs in this basket. So, you know what, Jason Light, why don't you go ahead and call Terry Fontenot and see what it would take to get Julio Jones down here. Imagine Julio and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown. I mean, come on, John. You haven't even brought up the Buccaneers as a possible landing spot for him.
Listen, I joked about that on Twitter.
Exploded. Yeah.
I know. I joked about it on Twitter. And people are like, come on, you can't do that. I'm like, are you guys serious? Come on. They're not actually going to trade for Julio Jones.
No.
Like, first of all,
you know what? Who knows what anybody, Jason Light is on a roll, my man. Jason Light is just saying, I'm going to push all my chips in and see if I can pull an ace out of the stack. And he seems to do it, or, every decision he's made the last couple of years is, well, going back to last off season with the decision to move on from Jameson, everything, including Antonio Brown signing, the ability to bring guys back this year. I mean, this guy, if he's not over at the Seminole Hard Rock throwing some money down on the blackjack table, he's crazy. His luck is really good right now. I'd run with it.
You know where else your luck can be good, Mark? You know where else your luck can be?
Yes, I do.
Is it?
Where
can it be good, Mark?
My cookie. I'm now starting my own bookie. No, damn it.
No, my bookie, Mark.
MyBookie.ag.
Yes. Baseball and basketball seasons are long, and with up to 400 potential matches a month, you can make each and every one matter by having skin in the game with MyBookie.ag. Whether you're pricing a wager on your favorite team, player, or just looking for kicks, MyBookie gives you the best odds and tons of options to make all your favorite sports a hell of a lot more exciting. How about the NHL playoffs, too? Bet on the Lightning versus Panthers series, take advantage of odds on the NBA and NHL playoffs, or hit up the MyBookie Casino for the full-fledged experience where weekly blackjack tournaments give you and your friends a crack at prize pools of up to $50,000. Go to mybookie.ag, sign up now and use our promo code Pewter, Pewter, to get your first deposit matched up to $1,000. Let them know we sent you, so use our promo code PEWTER. Get that free deposit bonus and start your day off with a win. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Mark, you know what I was going through my head?
That you should have put all your money on Phil Mickelson yesterday?
Should have.
Yeah.
Not a big hockey person, but I always follow along to see what's going on. My wife actually really enjoys hockey, so she was following along too. But
I'm talking about golf. I'm talking about golf, Phil Mickelson.
Man, if any NBA and NHL playoffs are on, I'm there. That's just all there is to it. But yeah, if it's not happening, I'll put it on. But I was envisioning Julio Jones and Mike Evans on the outside of Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin in the slot, and Rob Gronkowski at tight end. What would the expectation level be for a completion on a given play with those five players on the field and Brady at quarterback? I mean, we are talking about two of the best wide receivers ever. Hall of Fame locks in Julio Jones and Mike Evans. We're talking about another guy who, if the off the field, Antonio Brown, if that stuff doesn't muddy the Hall of, he's a easy first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, he was, to me, he was better than Julio even in his prime. Maybe not as gifted, but produced at that level. And then Chris Godwin, who would be suddenly the runt of the litter. And he's, unbelievable talent, one of the best receivers in the league. And then obviously the best tight end of all. You'd have four legitimate Hall of Famers, and we'll see what happens with Chris Godwin in his career as it progresses. But that would be, it's just funny to think about.
Yeah, I was joking that our readers' heads would explode. Our listeners' heads were exploding as I was joking about them adding that. Literally, my head would explode if I got the media advisory from the Bucs PR department that we get occasionally, stating Buccaneers have traded. My head literally may pop off my shoulders. That would be incredible. And you talked about the rest of the NFL would probably just be like, you know what, we're just not going to play this year. We're hand them the trophy. We're done. We're good.
I really don't know what you do. You would have to start intentionally hurting people. Like that's how ridiculous. There would be no other answer. I don't know. Yeah. There's no team in the league that could match. We have that problem. Honestly, they have that problem now, to be honest, because the Bucs still have. There's four Hall of Famers out there. Gronk and AB and Evans and Brady. Those guys. They can still kill you. And so I know some of them are older, but I really haven't seen a big drop off in any of their games. And I study that tape like crazy. And it could happen this year, but I still think it's like, man, if you added Julio, and then you're like, well, even without him, it's that kind of a group. And with the offseason to get everybody in, I think you're going to see that team, that offense I can't wait for the start of the season. It just got me excited thinking about Julio maybe in the Tampa Bay Pewter I know that's not going to happen, Bucks fans, and I know I probably just got everybody really riled up.
But man, when you just
But-
name those guys, when you just name that lineup on offense, John,
Yeah.
I almost lifted out of my seat. And I mean, that's golly, geez Louise. I mean, literally teams, the rest of the league would be like, why are we even playing, man? Because there's no defense that could stop that offense. You know, again, the caveat is always if this team stays relatively healthy.
Right.
You know, one major injury here or there, and we saw the Chiefs last year win 14 games in the regular season. It looked like they were going to just, you know, roll through the playoffs for their second Super Bowl win. They end up getting hurt on the offensive line, and it's a different Super Bowl than everybody expected, except you and I and Scott and the Pewter Report staff. We knew the Buccaneers were going to win the Super Bowl.
One thing we got to talk about, though, is Julio Jones unprompted going off on the Dallas Cowboys when Shannon Sharp called him today. And we'll also talk about the ethical side of Shannon Sharp's decision to call him on.
Did he just blindly call him without Julio knowing he was going to be on? I just
as
saw
far as we
the
know
clip on Twitter. Yeah.
As far as we know, yes, that's what happened. Knows he was on the air when Sharp called him yet. So we'll talk about that in a second. But first, Mark, we got to let people know Symbol is the stock market for sports that allows you to trade sports teams. Might be time to be trading the Atlanta Falcons if you haven't already, like stocks, and earn cash payouts when your teams win. Symbol has blended sports and the stock market to offer you a new way to invest in and profit off of your favorite teams. Use your sports knowledge to buy low, sell high, and earn cash payouts when your teams win. Join the 2,000 plus early adopters who have started to invest in their favorite teams. The stock market for sports is just a tap away. Create a free account in seconds and start profiting from your sports knowledge over at Symbol. So make sure you check that out. Yeah, we got to talk about this Cowboys thing. I mean, man, Julio was not holding back at all. Shannon Sharp goes, "You going to the Don't go to the Cowboys if you want to win." And Julio's just like, "I'm not going to the Cowboys." But I know he said, "I know what it is." Like, meaning he's thought about that and he realizes you aren't going anywhere in Dallas. I mean, Dallas just catching a stray one on a Monday morning. Like, they're just unprompted going about their work. And
Jerry Jones like, what did I do? I had a nice weekend. I come into the office on Monday and I'm getting this. Jeez Louise. I mean, there was a time when the Cowboys were the Buccaneers, right? Where everybody wanted to be a Cowboy. And boy, my how things have changed. And they'll change here in Tampa Bay again one day. But I mean, even growing up, I was talking to my son. We were watching a Football Life. By the way, John, I have to say this has nothing to do with the Buccaneers, but you're from Pennsylvania and grew up a Steelers fan. In this weekend, they showed a lot of the Football Lives on NFL Network that I hadn't seen a lot of them. The one on Chuck Noll was just outstanding. I don't know if you saw that one or not. That was just an outstanding profile. The one on Joe Namath, it was a 2-part series. There's a Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania guy for you right there. Man, what a great show that is. Why have I been sleeping on that show? I taped the one, the Bruce Arians. That was before he got to Tampa. They profiled him from Arizona. That was a good one as well. But man, your guy, Chuck Knox, my whole point of this was saying is I was telling my son as we were watching it this weekend, growing up in the 70s, the Buccaneers were awful, obviously, initially in 76, 77, 78. Didn't get good till 79. It was the rivalry was the Steelers and the Cowboys in the 70s, particularly the mid to late 70s. And the Steelers won 4 Super Bowls. The Cowboys, I think, won 2, played in 2 others. But, as a kid, you were either a Cowboy or a Pittsburgh fan from a national standpoint because your local team, the Bucs, were bad at that time. And I was thoroughly impressed. But I was saying, they were dubbed America's team, and they were America's team. I mean, Pittsburgh was kind of the anti-America's team. I mean, they certainly were very popular and still are hugely popular in Pennsylvania. But anyway, there was a time when everybody wanted to be a Cowboy.
That moniker, did you know that?
No,
Steelers were offered that moniker by the league, and they were like, "We don't want to be America's team. We're Pittsburgh's
we want to be Pittsburgh's team."
So then they went to the Cowboys, and the Cowboys.
But check out, I want people, especially the younger, and this is, I'm old, right? I'm 50. You can clearly see this. I'm wearing a Regal Beagle t-shirt from Three's Company. That's how old I am. Now, my point is for you younger people listening, if you've got NFL Network, set it up on your DVR or do the app or whatever technology you have that I don't understand, and tape some of those, the history and things like that. You'll get the Joe Namath one was just tremendous. It was a 2-part series, but the Chuck Noll one, didn't know a damn thing about Chuck Noll other than he was a really good coach. But the fact that he hasn't been mentioned as in that top tier of coaches is kind of mind-boggling after you watch that show. Anyway, sorry to go off on a tangent. People are saying shut up, Cook in the chat, so I will.
No, he's one of the best to ever do it, no question about that. But yeah, he's a beast. And I think that, right now, as you look at this kind of landscape, the Cowboys thing cracked me up just because it's the Cowboys, right? Like anybody wants to see them, everybody likes when the Cowboy, when somebody takes a crack at the Cowboys. Right. Like it's just funny because of exactly what you said. It wasn't that long ago that was the team people really wanted to be on, players really wanted to be on. Remember, what is it, 4 years ago, maybe Earl Thomas, saying, come get me. Even then it was, the Cowboys weren't even, but again, Mark, look at the landscape. Like the Cowboys have just not been that team for a long, long time. I mean, they've won 2 or 3 playoff games since 2000. And they have not been to an NFC Championship game, not been to a Super Bowl since 95. I mean, they have just not had a lot of success as a franchise for a long time. And you're right. Now it's all these guys are trying to get to the Bucs, and it's just if you'd have told Tampa Bay fans that 3 years ago, 2 years, they would have just. I wouldn't have believed it either. That's what it is.
I wouldn't have believed it either. But you're right, and it's a shame. Look, and the Patriots. They had their 20-year run, and it's natural, right? When a team does have success, and the Cowboys had success in the 70s, and then they had it in the late 80s, early 90s with Jimmy Johnson, winning those Super Bowls with Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin. Teams, you get tired. I say fans. I say teams. Fans get tired of seeing. And by the way, did I call Chuck Noll Chuck Knox? If I did, I apologize. Somebody mentioned that in the
just once. Most of the time you got it right. Just one
Chuck
time.
No. I was an old Seahawks fan back in the day too when Chuck Knox was their coach. But anyway, my point is, I don't even remember my point. But the Cowboys, got good, got bad, then got good again. They're in a bad streak right now. The point is teams don't want to. Fans don't want to see the same teams win over and over and over. I never disliked Tom Brady personally, right, during those 20 years. But I didn't
cheer
for him to
cheered for
win.
Somebody else. Yeah, yes. Somebody else in the AFC come out of there. Right.
I
get that completely. I was a Steeler fan. I obviously did hate. I always respected him. It wasn't like it was ever like a personal, like there were guys in the Ravens. Sure. When you're a kid, you're like growing up, you're like, oh, no, or the Browns or the Bengals. But it was never like that with Brady. He was just always amazing to me, but he always beat the Steelers. So it was that kind of a thing.
Brady's been playing so long, then you forget how long. The famous Joe Namath thing. One of the famous Joe Namath things is on that Monday Night Football broadcast when he was inebriated and he told Susie Colbert, "I want to kiss you. I want to kiss you." Tom Brady was playing in that game. It seems like that was 40 years ago. Yes, it was like 2002 or 2003, something like that. Yeah, that was Tom, because they were showing that on the Football Life with Joe Namath, and in between cutting to Susie with Joe, they were showing plays on the field, and it was Tom Brady threw an incompletion. It was a drop. It was a good pass, by the way. I don't remember who the receiver was, but anyway, that's how long Tom Brady's been playing. It's just funny when you see old things that you think are so old that happened so long ago, and you realize, man, Tom Brady has been playing a long time.
It's crazy. Toby Valora says, is there any kind of legal ramifications for Shannon Sharp for doing that to Julio? Just feels like he answered it and it was like an impromptu phone call, not knowing he was live on TV. Man, I'm not totally sure. I don't know about legal ramifications, disciplinary action. Who cares for, that show Undisputed? I'm sure they do all kinds of things that we would consider unethical, maybe. But I don't know what I don't know what the process there was. I think we just need to hear more. I haven't necessarily seen
back in my radio day, John, our big thing was, and again, I don't know what the legal ramifications were, but we had to make sure when we had somebody on the air that they knew that they were going to be on the air, right? A caller couldn't just call in and we throw them on the air. They had to know, they had to call and say, hey, I want to get on the air, I want to talk about this, and you put them on the air. I couldn't just randomly dial somebody live on the air. Even when radio stations do prank calls, they tape those things ahead of time, and they actually get a signed release or at least a verbal release from the person. But if they're smart, they'll get a legal release, to be able to use their voice and what they said on the air. So, there is some things there, but I'll be honest.
It could have been staged. I mean, we don't know.
That's what I was going to say. That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean,
but there are certainly more effective ways. People are like, Julio knew what he was doing. I'm like, why do people act smart, try to act smart like that? Like Julio could have just tweeted what he wanted if he wanted to. He didn't use that moment. You know what I mean? Like if Shannon Sharp asked him to do it, maybe, but it wasn't like Julio had to do it that way to get his take out there. No, he could just go on social media like half the other athletes in today's world and just say what you want, And I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't know what was going on. Even if he did, I don't think it was some him trying to make a point or whatever. I think he's just being honest with Shannon Sharp, and we happen to hear it at that point at least. So yeah, I mean, definitely ethically, that probably, if Julio didn't know, that would definitely be a red flag for Shannon Sharp. But I mean, what are they gonna do? I mean, I don't think they're gonna suspend him or anything. It's just something he probably gets told, make sure you clarify that next time or whatever. But yeah, it's created. ESPN is not upset. It's generated a tremendous amount of buzz, or Fox Sports One, whatever the show was that they're on, has created a ton of buzz for him. It's good advertising. I didn't see that Julio Jones in Cowboys gear. I didn't see that. I'm not sure what he was talking about, but in the call he said somebody photoshopped it or something, I think, in the call. I don't know, something like that. He was he made a reference that it was fake and not real, him in the Cowboys gear, or that it didn't mean, maybe he was just saying it didn't mean anything. It was just I mean, lots of people have Cowboys gear. You grow, it just, I don't know what he meant by it exactly, but it didn't sound like that was a real thing that he was.
Well, there's a Photoshop Tom Brady in a Cowboys uniform, a meme going all over the internet. It's the only way to keep, the only way to keep Tom Brady from winning a Super Bowl is to put him in a Cowboys uniform. That's kind of a joke meme that I've seen floating around social media. So it's pretty easy to Photoshop somebody. And even before Tom Brady got here, there were guys photoshopping Tom Brady in the old Buccaneer, I say old Buccaneer uniform, the alarm clock uniform. That was before we knew what the new one looked like anyway.
Right. Oh yeah, that absolutely happens. There's no question about that. Hey, gotta let people know about your good buddies over at Briar Greaves, Mark.
Yes, my good buddies over at Briar Greaves, and I mean good buddies because Sam and Briar have not just become my insurance agent; they've become a good friend, and the main reason is the connection I have with the football team. I mean, they love the Buccaneers; they're Buccaneer season ticket holders. They've been around for a long time. In fact, 30 years. I mean, you don't stay in business for over 30 years if you aren't doing something right. And Briar Greaves, John, they do a lot of things right, including handling my homeowner's policy, Scott Reynolds' homeowner policy. They can save you some money, not all the time. That's the thing about them. But why not find out for free? It doesn't cost you a single thing to give Sam or Briar a call tomorrow when they open up. They'll be closing up probably around 5. But if you call them right now, you can probably get on and check with them. You can email them as well and let them know what you're currently carrying in terms of your homeowners, your auto policy. Maybe you have a business. Maybe you have commercial liability insurance that you need to carry. Maybe you have a fleet of vehicles. Maybe you need a quote on life insurance. Briar Greaves can do that. And the great thing about Briar Greaves is when you call the big box stores, right, the Allstates and the Geicos and the places like that, they are their own insurance company. Sam and Briar have multiple lines to be able to shop around and find the best rate for you. And they also be able to tell you, hey, that's a good company. That's a company you want to stay away from. There's multiple avenues out there for them to find you good insurance. And there's nobody listening. I say it every time, John, but it's true. There's nobody listening that doesn't need some type of insurance. Give Briar Greaves a call, 813-876-4166. Again, 813-876-4166. Even if they can't save you any money, you'll have a good 10-minute phone conversation talking about your favorite football team, the Buccaneers. You got something in common with them. I guarantee you when you call the 800 number that you see on TV for a big box insurance company, you're not going to be able to chat Buccaneers with that representative. So give Briar Greaves a call, 813-876-4166.
Tell you what else is coming up this week? Bucs OTA practices tomorrow. The players will be out on the field. We don't know exactly
who's showing up.
You and Scott will be there.
Find out.
Yes, we don't know who's going to show up. So you guys are going to have to be getting your binoculars out and trying to figure out who's all out there. Tomorrow we'll find out. Who's not showing up, who is showing up. Bruce Arians told us he expects most everybody out there, but I'm sure it won't be everybody. And so we got to figure out those situations. So it's going to be a great time to be locked on to pewterreport.com and at Pewter Report on Twitter, and as well as Pewter Report TV on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you click the bell notifications when we go live tomorrow we're going to go live at 4 p.m. after everything. The dust settles on that day out on the field and the coaches' comments and all of that. We'll talk about everybody who isn't there. We'll break it all down that day of OTA practices, and we don't even know what they're going to be doing out on the field or how extensive it'll be or anything like that, but we'll break all that down, talk about it. And so we'll have tomorrow fully covered over at pewterreport.com. It's going to be a day. And in the morning, I'm going to have a column out about O.J. Howard. I know, my favorite thing to write about, your favorite player to get mad at. I'm going to talk about O.J. Howard and why I believe, even in that small sample size last year, that real growth has happened with him. And if he can just stay healthy, I know it's the caveat, but if he can stay healthy, I really think big things are still in store for him in the NFL. I will not give up hope just yet, Bucs fans. I will hold on to that hope for all of you who have given up and no longer believe. I will be that man and carry that mantle for pewterreport.com.
I got to say one thing, John, real quick.
Yes.
And I'll have some information coming up. We're working on the dates and things like that. You mentioned O.J. Howard, and that reminded me. O.J. Howard used to participate in our Pewter Report Bowling League at Pin Chasers. We're planning on starting a new summer bowling league this summer. So if you're interested, I need to get an idea of who might be interested in doing that. So you can hit me up on social, Mark Cook 1970 on Twitter. You can hit me up on email, Mark. I don't even know what my Pewter Report email is. Mark at pewterreport.com. If you're interested in being part of our bowling league, now the summer league will just be a fan reader league. But in the fall, if things work out and we get permission from the organization, we'll have a player league as well. But OJ's bowled with us before. Great guy. In fact, that year that he got hurt in that Giants game, it was in the middle of our bowling league. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to complete the bowling league. But I had some great conversations with OJ about what he wants to achieve, in the future and his goals in the world of football. A great guy, had a kid over the summer. A lot of things positive happening in his life. And like you say, John, I hope he can stay healthy. But if you're interested in the summer bowling league, we're working on getting dates and things like that. But hit me up on social or email me and let me know if you'd like to be a part of our summer bowling league over at Pin Chasers. We'll be doing that soon. Are you a bowler, John?
I've bowled before, but I'm not really like a bowler. I just bowl once.
You mean you don't have a shirt with your name on it or anything?
No. I mean, just whenever, it's like, it happens to
let's go bowling.
But no, we're going to
get you and Brett. You're going to have to find a babysitter, but
that's right.
We're going to have to get you out a few times for a bowling league for sure.
Hey, it sounds good to me. Elliot wants to know, I thought the Bucs players announced that they wouldn't participate in OTAs. Yes, they did. That was OTAs kind of as they normally are. There's definitely been some level of negotiation there that's been worked out. And, I don't know if they're changing, obviously, the way that they normally do OTAs. They're not going to be on the field that whole time. There's going to be a large virtual element to the OTAs. And so that will kind of all alter how this looks. So, yes, they had said that, but there's definitely been some agreement on what's going to happen.
But there's going to be some type of practice tomorrow at 10:30.
Yes, there will be something on the field. Yeah.
On the field at 10:30, and then we'll have Bruce at 12:30. So make sure you guys are following us on all social platforms and things like that. We'll be updating all of our social as things happen. And just to give you guys an idea, it's just like during the rookie minicamp. We can't report during the 2-hour practice, but as soon as it's over, we'll have the video clips and things like that up as well. So make sure you check it out. And Cliff will be out there shooting some great photos as well.
Yeah. So Tuesday, that's what'll happen. Mark and Scott will be there, and then Mark and I will be on the podcast to break everything down tomorrow because Scott still does not have his voice. We'll see if it comes back tomorrow to some degree. Wednesday, Brandon Thorne is joining me on the podcast to talk offensive line. He has studied extensively Ryan Jensen's career of recent, and he's going to talk about why he believes Ryan Jensen's the best center in the league. The
hell of a breakdown video that he put out this weekend. Hell of a
great videos. Video. Yes. Check out him on Twitter. It's going to be good. He's going to talk about all that kind of stuff. He's also going to talk about Ali Marpet ranking 6th on Pro Football Focus's guard rankings. I believe Alex Kappa was 27th. Tristan Wirfs was 6th, I think, too. And then Donovan Smith was not ranked at tackle. So going to get his thoughts, whether he agrees, disagrees, how he sees where those players stack up across the league. Also, Robert Hainsey studied him extensively. He knows his game really well. He was on the draft show very briefly to talk about Hainsey's skill set. We'll get into some other things about a transition to center, how that might test Hainsey, et cetera, with Brandon on Wednesdays. That'll be Wednesday. That is going to be 3:30 p.m. Brandon's going to be on. We're going to start a little bit early, 3:30 p.m. If you don't catch us live, apologize for that, but you can definitely rewatch, obviously, as a lot of you do on YouTube or listen to the audio version on SoundCloud and all the places that you listen to your favorite podcast. And then Thursday, hopefully Scott is back in the fold and you can get his thoughts on all things.
I don't know,
Bucks
John. I'm worried about this guy. He's still on the he's on the pup list right now, physically unable to perform on the podcast.
Physically unable to speak.
Yeah,
that's the list. So we're going to see how that develops with Scott and hopefully get him back on the show on Thursday. I know he's missing all of y'all and is excited to be back with you. But until tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, we'll be live to talk about Bucks OTAs. For Mark Cook, I am John Ledyard saying thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.